Shadow Minister Mims Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and with leave of the House, I am very grateful to respond to the debate on behalf of His Majesty's official opposition. And the spirit of today's debate has been strident, not always wholly in agreement, but where we have disagreed, we've disagreed with respect and kindness, which is exactly how I approach this issue. And I know the honourable ladies opposite on the front bench do exactly the same. And as you move from campaigners to ministers, that is not easy. And we all, as MPs, are campaigners. And that unites us all for our own constituencies. I am very grateful for the range of contributions made by all members in the House today, and I think it was right that we did not shy away from what needs saying. Just take a moment to cover a few matters that have come up, and I just must reiterate, after 14 years in government, there was a huge amount of work done on this. And none of it is easy and none of it is done on its own. My right honourable friend, the member for Louth and Horncastle, in her role as Minister for Women and in the Home Office, the former Safeguarding Minister, Laura Farris, my right honourable friend, the member from Witham, in all of her time in government, my right honourable friend from Staffordshire, Moorlands. As I said earlier, this is about building on the foundations of many women and partnership work across constituencies and sectors. The work of Maggie Blythe, stepping up in the wake of the Sarah Everard brutal murder as the National Police lead, following on the work from the Casey Review, listening to women's testimony and working to it. To Festus, his time as Bedfordshire Police and Crime Commissioner, I remember joining with him, learning how technology from mobile phones from the Home Office can be downloaded within 24 hours to help women and girls get the justice they need. Operation Satira, transformative approach to tackle rape and sexual offences, a game changer for women in policing and the impact that it's needed on investigations and prosecutions. And so it is right that the cross-government Tackling Violence Against Women 2021 strategy built on the work of those that stood before. Indeed, alongside this, the National Communications Campaign, we've heard about the Enough campaign, the work to criminalise virginity testing, the work that we did around changing the taxi and licensing regime, the £1.5 million a year on specialist support services in terms of revenge porn, and of course that Domestic Abuse Act which I spoke about earlier. Now let me turn to some of our contributions. The Honourable Lady from Milton Keynes Central rightly talked about halting violence against women and girls, and pointed out that she felt somewhat sorry for me, which I appreciate. But yesterday's bill, and I do reiterate, had nothing in terms of additional work in this realm. These debates are important, and the Minister knows this, and we need to do more than have general debates in the pursuit of justice. The work that I do welcome, which was outlined by the Safeguarding Minister earlier, when it comes to deep fakes or a focus on full eradication, we on this other side of the House will focus on that. Now, the Honourable Member from Thurrock spoke about the violence perpetrated against women and girls as something that victims can never easily move on from. The offenders may forget the details after their rehabilitation, but constituents and all of us know that they will never forget. So the member for Huntington, my friend, pointed out the juxtaposition from the political party called Reform that says that they feel that other parties don't turn over the stones. And I'm afraid my honourable friend's speech was right in the fact that he showed that no barrier should be unbroken when it comes to talking about what happens to women and girls. And I think it's right that this House heard about this. Where political differences are, we can say with unity that we must make sure in this House we will continue to enable women and girls to feel safe. We can only agree that you can only turn your life around by telling the full truth, which is always what the victims and survivors need to feel that their true justice has taken place. So I welcome the cross-government approach welcomed by the North Warwickshire and Bedworth member and the focus around coercive control. Nothing will get done on this without cross-government working, and that's something that I was very part of. Now, my honourable friend from South West Devon spoke about male violence, about women and girls through a public health lens, that this community partnership was vital. And she also spoke about the dedicated work that needs to be done in terms of protecting single-sex spaces, whether it's in the NHS, police or through charities. We need a full picture and guidance of what women and girls can expect, so that male violence against women and girls is dealt with and that people feel safe in that public health lens and, more importantly, in those areas. Now, turning to Northern Ireland, she's not in her place, but the member from Lagan Valley spoke movingly, poignantly, bravely. She spoke about the victims and perpetrators are the people that we know and we love. And it was staggering to hear that she feels that still women feel literally like they have to fight for their lives as a woman, and the speaking of the rape threat culture, and that she was worried that this looked like a self-indulgent rant. Speaking up is never a self-indulgent rant. Dealing with the toxification and bringing the power of women into the debate and calling people out is exactly the bravery it takes, and may I pay tribute to her from my party. Now, the honourable lady, who is a very brave lady herself from Poplar and Limehouse, spoke about the importance of employment and how that can bring you into the next stage of your life. And may I pay tribute to somebody I worked with very stridently at DWP, who worked on the EAD Act, the way that you can help to get people into work and onto the next steps of life. And I promised her that is there, and I hope she'll lean into that. My honourable friend from Reigate spoke about the change in perception of what love is, that through social media, aggression, violence in a loving relationship is apparently becoming a norm. She talked about the normalisation of social media, of abuse in relationships, that it is confusing for our young men, for our men, our boys, our young people to know what love is and to understand the difference between a porn culture and desensitification. And I think she was absolutely right talking about degrading acts, which are not acts of love. They are acts of aggression and violence, and that we need to be working very strongly to help young men and boys not to be caught up in that culture. And that leads me on to the Right Honourable Lady from Staffordshire and Moorlands. AI and tech. What this is going to mean in terms of helping men to find the solution, how we deal with these challenges, how our way of life is being undermined by this. This is very, very concerning. Despite the coercive control laws, despite a multi-agency working, despite the Vaughan strategies of 2016, 2021 and the one coming from the Labour front bench, there is a change here from FGM and some of the modern slavery, the grooming and the domestic abuse, which I reiterate at this box is not domestic abuse. It's criminality in the home. It's not acceptable, and we must always treat it accordingly and root it out. So whether it's the updated internet safety strategy or further work, all of society needs to get behind the challenge of what tech and AI will bring forward to us. And may I thank the Chair of the Women Select Committee for the work and focus that she is bringing to this, the importance of good male role models and supporting the deep fakes work as well. But I want to turn now to grooming gangs, and I want to raise a point to the Minister. to ask, and at 1:18 she intervened on me to ask about, to update on ethnicity data collection on grooming gangs, saying that the ethnicity data is collected and published. Can she and her team place a copy in the library to share directly with my office so that we can be clear what the current data is available and where it is linked to? For clarity, police recorded groom gang ethnicity data, not self-reported CSE data, and this links to the Sunak government announcement of April 2023. This proper data was welcomed by Professor Jay, and I think it would be very important. This is not about politics, about clarity. It's not about letting this lie. It's about the ICSA report looking at 6 towns. It's now a reported 50, so victims' voices have simply not all been examined. And I just want to turn to bandwagoning. Now, the honourable member from Rochdale rightly spoke about tackling and listening to the voices of the victims. And my honourable friend from Harborough, the Shadow Education Minister, said we're not going to let this lie when it comes to grooming and screening out women's and girls' voices. And I want to talk about bandwagoning specifically. If you agree with the bandwagoning, apparently it's fine. If you don't agree with bandwagoning, apparently it is politicising and calling something out. But I would like to say to the House this afternoon, many of us are here focusing and dealing with causes because we're on the bandwagon. We believe it. It's what's brought us to frontline politics. We'll never let it go. So bandwagoning can also come with purpose and real change. And if we're not going to halve violence against women and girls, we're going to eradicate it. Let's not be afraid to deal with the bandwagons.